Sorry to step out here again. I'm gonna be stirring the pot again because this needs to be talked about because I feel like someone's misunderstanding has been shown, in my opinion. Okay, but I'm gonna probably go on a little more afterwards about other topics that need to be discussed, depending on the length. Let's switch this over, and it says, "Okay, we're at let's go to the state I live in, the Iowa. Ankeny students walk out to protest controversial diversity legislation." So yes, they walked out because of House File 802, which I will show you in a second. It says the legislature passed a bill which bans ideas like the United States and Iowa are fundamentally racist or sexist. Okay, they're saying, oh, it's because they're trying to ban talking about history, what happened. Well, if you actually look at the definition of fundamentally, in central or primary respects, it gives examples. An example here: the fundamentally different concepts of democracy, and it's what's similar to basically, radically, structurally, organically, and it goes on and on. But I'm gonna pronounce one of these words because I have issues with sometimes saying words. Used to make an emphatic statement about the basic truth of something. Fundamentally, this is a matter for a doctor. So if I'm reading that correctly, so it's saying that this is saying we are racist, we are sexist. Saying we are, not we were. So they're one, and then they have this. I understand that I don't have any problem with people like that are Asian American, part of the LGBTQ community. Okay, there's nothing wrong with them, but this doesn't make sense why this is brought up in this thing because it has nothing. I feel like they were using this statement to try to gain points towards their cause. Okay. I mean, the good thing is the leaders allowed it just for that day, for one day, and are remaining neutral on this. So, the schools are staying out of it. There's just a teacher and students, and they're saying that but the teacher, students saying that I'm pretty sure this was brought in, but some people. See hundreds, and Ankeny is a large school. I'm trying to find this out. Ankeny is a large school district, so hundreds. Actually, I'm pretty sure there's more than thousands of students in the Ankeny school districts. So it doesn't say, it says hundreds, but it doesn't give an exact amount. So it can't say how many students that were out this. But let's go to the bill. Now I'm going to just point the section out that this is in. Okay. The section 2 of it, race and sex stereotyping training by institution prohibited. For purposes of this section, unless the context otherwise requires, divisive concepts includes all the following: that one race or sex is inherently superior to another race or sex, that the United States of America and the state of Iowa are fundamentally or systematically racist or sexist. So saying that we still are. So saying we're basically sexist or racist. That an individual, by virtue of the individual's race or sex, is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive, whether consciously or unconsciously. that is that an individual should be discriminated against or receive adverse treatment solely or partially because of the individual's race or sex, that members of one race or sex cannot and should not attempt to treat others without respect to race or sex. Oh yeah. Gotta go down a little bit more. That an individual's moral character is necessarily determined by the individual's race or sex. That an individual, by virtue of the individual's race or sex, bears responsibility for actions committed in the past by other members of the same race or sex. That any individual should feel discomfort, guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress on account of the individual's race or sex. The meritocracy of traits such as hard work ethic are racist or sexist, or were created by a particular race to oppress another race. Any other form of race or sex scapegoating, or any other form of race or sex stereotyping. So what this is saying is, you're allowed to teach what happened with the slavery back before the Civil War, and you're allowed to teach the events that led up to the civil rights movements for both the colors and the females and the female movements. What it's saying is you cannot teach that we still are racist or sexist, because most people don't judge someone based off of the color of their skin or gender or what have you. They base it off of how you treat them. If you treat them like dirt or anything mean, they're gonna treat you treat you that way, because they think that's how they feel. You want to be a jerk, they're just gonna be a jerk right back to you. You do have bad actors on both sides of this whole incident. Both sides that will be racist, be sexist, treat people that are not their specific leaning on sexuality. These are not one-way streets. They're two-way. And you cannot claim that because of the color of their skin, they are not racist, for an example, because that is technically a racist statement. In itself. But there's a lot of things that we need to deal with, because we're just gonna keep turning into each other. It should be, if you're not hurting anyone, not hurting anyone financially or physically, or even making threats against their life, it's live and let live. But because the Bill of Rights are here to stay, and also this country is a constitutional republic. Well, it originally started out as a constitutional republic. What it seems like it turned into is a constitutional democracy. But still, the Constitution is the law of the land, and you cannot override the Constitution. So, and all these people who have claimed that we need more censorship to protect democracy, they're all for authoritarian rule from my perspective. If you want more censorship, you're authoritarian. If you want people to be able to talk about things openly, you're for freedom. I know there's some things that that should not be discussed. I mean, like re-implementing slavery and that kind of stuff. Anything that involves segregation shouldn't be reintroducing segregation is no go. I mean, there are certain things, yes, you shouldn't be talking about, but it's gonna happen anyways, no matter how hard you try. And well, and talking about freedoms, let's talk about gun ownership. As you know, as some of you know, I own firearms myself. I actually I actually carry one every now and then. I understand the idea of safe spaces, well, places that are you're not permitted to take firearms, but these become those have become so much soft targets. They're constantly getting shot up now. You know what? Why in a lot of places, certain places, do not get shot up, or if they get someone busted in there with a firearm and end up getting shot themselves, is because it's either if they go in there and get shot, they're an idiot. They didn't think things through, or two, if they didn't go in there, it's because they knew people carry, and especially if you got well trained individuals who like military or police officers or some and a gun enthusiast that ri- trains every day and took everything seriously they were taught, they're gonna end up stopping the bad guy before he can do too much damage. But it is common sense that hey, it's not a good idea to bring a firearm here. Like the Capitol building's got their own security. The Capitol, so yeah, that's understandable. But places like Walmart or or stores, yeah, they can have their statement say, hey, you cannot bring these in here, but they should also be held liable if someone who could have stopped the shooting was prevented from stopping the shooting because they could not take their firearm in there. Like, say I walk into Walmart and I got shot, but I could have carried my firearm in there and I could have stopped the shooter. I should be able to sue the store for that because I could I wasn't allowed to bring something to protect myself. But I understand if they would now say if they say, "Hey, don't want you openly carrying in our store, just to keep other customers from fearing that you may shoot up the place." That's understandable. You can conceal carry. That's fine. But anyone claiming that removing the permit to carry law or permit to purchase, that it's only affects those who do private sales. Because if you go to any gun store, they're still gonna have you do. They're still gonna do a background check on you. But most private sales, the individual will either do their own background check, they will ask for a permit to purchase or a permit to carry. Because I've been through that. I could not buy. I was gonna buy a firearm from an individual, even though he knew I was in the military. He still wanted to see my permit to carry. And I still think we need to secure the border. And by secure, I mean we do put up the wall because it'll slow down the drug and sex trafficking that's going on. But we also need to adjust the test to become a citizen a bit to kind of make it to where even an everyday American citizen can actually pass it. But also, we all should still be doing like background checks on the individuals crossing the border to make sure we ain't having terrorists come in. And put it honestly, if like drug cartels or any, like the Mexican cartels or whatever, if they get caught in our country, they should just be shipped off to Gitmo. Because any terrorists just ship them off to Gitmo. So because they are committing crimes against the United States, and they are not protected by any. Technically, they're not protected by American law. They should be put in a facility, the Guantanamo Bay facility, the Gitmo facility, and left there to finish out a sentence. Because that way, if the cartels try to come after to try to come get them, they're not only going to have to deal with just the facility, they're going to have to deal with naval vessels as well. They're going to have to deal with a lot more stuff than just the people in the front controlling the facility. And I still think we need to be drilling our own for our own oil to stop being dependent on other countries, especially because it doesn't help when you're buying oil from a company you try and put sanctions against, because you're still paying them for the oil. And then we need to we need to work to get the companies to come back to the United States instead of being in other countries, because these, like China, eventually they're going to need to have sanctions, and we can't really put sanctions on them because we get a bunch of our crap from China. We need to incentivize coming back to this country, making it so we have jobs for these work for available for American citizens. And some of them are actually in, they have either kids working in sweatshops or the Uyghur Muslims who have been put into re-education camps. I could quote because I don't think they're re-education camps. I think they're using them for something else. But it's pretty much for forced labor. Don't get me started on. But in jails, yeah, the criminals, some of them don't learn. If they get to a point where they're not gonna learn, I mean, you can give them a 3-strike rule and they're out. They're done. It's 3 strikes. We're not gonna go easy. We're never gonna give you a break again. You're going to a forced labor camp, like digging ditches or stuff like that. Because some people will learn the first time. Hey, I shouldn't have done that. I won't do anything illegal again, or it's an accidental. Did something stupid. The second time, yeah, they should get a little harsher punishment because they did it again or committed another crime. The third time, they ain't gonna change. I mean, because I put it in a video. People learn different ways on how what thing by either like the grounding, the physical labor, and full on punishment. And let's see what. Yeah, this is so much stuff I like to stir the pot on. I mean, if I ever run for any political position, I don't think anyone would really vote for me because I'm a jerk sometimes. Oh yeah, and there needs to be a law passed to where even if there is laws where even if they are in a political office, even in the House and Senate, once they're home, they can be arrested. Like once they're home, they come home from their job as in Congress, they're susceptible to being arrested and everything. It doesn't matter. So say, I'm gonna put it this way. I'll use Nancy Pelosi were to show up in my state and cause a crime, or even encourage, like say, incite violence. She can be arrested. Because she can say, "Oh, I'm doing it for as a as part of my job," but this is not her state, so she has no point of being here saying that stuff or doing anything. So she's susceptible to being arrested, and vice versa. So if you're not in your state and you're inciting violence, yes. Don't get me into the Trump thing. So politicians should not be above the law. Police officers and firefighters should not be above the law. Antifa is a terrorist organization. No ifs, ands, or buts. They use violence to attack people. And I lost some I had up in my head. I couldn't remember. I may have to do a video on later. But we need to stop attacking each other. I mean, but we also got our elected officials need to work within the confines of the Constitution. So technically, the way it's written, all gun laws are. Let me put it. Yeah, put it in that. The Second Amendment shall not be infringed means no. You cannot enact any law preventing anyone from owning firearms. But I understand that certain people should not be owning firearms because of the actions they do. And right now, even with the laws we have in place that keep those individuals from getting them, they still get them. So more laws is not going to help. Cracking down on the crime will help a lot more than that. Eventually, I'll get to making my other videos again. Just been too cold to do a lot of things, and a lot's been going on about these gripes about the bills that have been passed. I mean, I'm not popular on any other channels. I mean, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble. I'm on all three of those platforms. I may look into expanding maybe into Odyssey. Maybe. But this country's gonna deal with a lot of stuff, and I'm not afraid to stir the pot, to be honest. Because no one really comes after me. Maybe they will eventually. But I'll be waiting for them.